If God is for us, then who is against us? Conspiracy or not, strategize and plot. Buy back your block, real estate and stocks. Stack what you got, hold down your spot. Strike while you hot and think the man up top. Conspiracy or not, strategize and plot. Buy back your block, real estate and stocks. Stack what you got, hold down your spot. Strike while you hot and think the man up top. Conspiracy or not, strategize and plot. Buy back your block, real estate and stocks. Stack what you got, hold down your spot. Strike while you hot and think the man up top. Conspiracy or not, strategize and plot. Buy back your block, real estate and stocks. Stack what you got, hold down your spot. Strike while you hot and think the man up top.
Conspiracy or not, strategize and plot.
Listen, we live in a world that, for the most part, is not male-centric. For the most part, does not highlight, does not promote, does not encourage, does not support, does not teach manhood. But I believe in order to have a strong society, we have to have strong men. We have to have men that are willing, that are capable, that accept and take on responsibility. We have to have men that are accountable. We have to have men that are willing to sacrifice for the greater good of the society, of the greater good of the community, and not just themselves. We don't need selfish men. We need selfless men. And, you know, I feel like I was fortunate. I was blessed in my life because I was raised around a lot of men. I have a lot of people in my family, and, you know, the spectrum of men that guided me, that mentored me, that taught me, that disciplined me, that corrected me, was wide ranging, right? From hardworking blue collar men to very successful men in business, to men struggling with their own demons, to men, you know, out in the world trying to make it happen any way possible. I was exposed to all of that. I saw the successes, I saw the mistakes, I got the advice, I got the guidance. Listen, I made my own mistakes. The one thing I tell people is that when it comes to advice, when it comes to guidance, when it comes to telling somebody how to live their life, right? I don't care if you talk to the most successful person you know. This is the thing. They can tell you how to get there, but they can't tell you where to go. They can tell you how to get to where you want to go to in life. Hard work, discipline, sacrifice, accountability, responsibility. They can tell you how to get what you want, but nobody can tell you where to go, because that's based on your purpose. Your purpose is different from my purpose. Your purpose has its own path. Your purpose requires its own set of rules, its own set of disciplines. Your purpose for your life is not the same as my purpose for my life. So even though the same things are required for both of us to reach our purpose, where I'm going and where you're going are two different places. And so unfortunately, as you are trying to become a man, you're going to have all of the knowledge, all of the guidance, all of the advice necessary to become that, but nobody's going to be able to tell you how to get there. Nobody's going to be able to do that because that's your job. It is your job to figure that part out. And that's what life is about. In order to be a man, I say all the time, it requires three things. It requires vision, it requires provision, and it requires improvision. See, the first thing that you have to have before you start out in any path, in any journey, you got to have a vision. A man has to have a vision, or like my cousin would say, a man has to have a word. What do you stand for? What is it that you believe? Why are you here? What's your vision? You cannot lead anybody. You cannot direct anybody. You can't even move forward unless you know where you're going. And that starts with your vision. That starts with your purpose. And so the first requirement of manhood is a vision, is a purpose. What's your purpose? What is it that God called you to do? You got to figure that out. That's why your development is so important. I spent a lot of my 20s trying to figure out what my purpose was in life, trying to figure out what path I wanted to pursue. And this is the crazy thing. People are going to give you all kinds of advice. People are going to tell you you should do this, you should try this, you should pursue this. And listen, a lot of it is good advice. But the problem is nobody can tell you how to get there. They can tell me what to do. Some of that advice may be helpful. It may get me a little bit further, but I got to figure the rest out. You have to figure out your purpose. Nobody can tell it to you. Nobody can guide you on that. Nobody can direct you. You got to dig deep within. Every man has to have a vision. Without any purpose, you are not following anything. You are not led by anything. There's no guiding light. Once you have your purpose, that creates the base, the foundation for your life. That creates the discipline. That creates the structure. Once you know what it is that you called to do, once you know what you're supposed to be doing in this world, now you create structure around that thing. Your vision is going to dictate your path. It's going to dictate your discipline. It's going to dictate your values because you are structuring those things around your life for a certain purpose. It's going to dictate what you prioritize, the discipline that you have in your life. Your purpose is going to create the structure around your life necessary to reach it. It's going to create a standard. Without any purpose, anything goes. There is no standard. But once you know what it is that you're supposed to be doing, now you have a standard. Now you have something with which to create structure around your life. That's going to determine what time you wake up in the morning, who you associate with, where you go, what you consume, what you read. Your purpose is going to create the parameters around your life necessary to get that. That is going to create the man that you need to become. A man has to have a vision. When you have a vision, that dictates and determines how you run your household. People say that a man is the leader and the head of the household. What is he leading towards? He is leading towards his purpose, towards his vision. And so that determines how you structure your house. That determines how you discipline your children, what you teach them, what you expose them to. All of that is connected to your purpose and the purpose for your family. A man has to have a vision. If you don't have a vision, you need to be thinking about and praying about what it is that God wants you to do. You need to be looking at your talents, abilities, and gifts, looking at your habits and your inclinations, and trying to figure out what you can give this world. You got to have a vision. But once a man has a vision, the next thing he has to have is provision. How are you going to provide for that purpose? How are you going to make this thing happen? And see, unfortunately, because we live in a microwave society, because we live in a transactional society, people automatically assume that provision is just about money. Money is a part of provision, but provision is much more than just the money. Because as a man, you can have a lot of money. And if you are not a good steward of that money, you're going to waste it. Provision is about resources. A man is tasked with being a steward of resources so that he can advance him and his family. Your job is to take your resources, to provide the resources to change your family circumstances, to improve your family circumstances. If you're making all of the money and you're not good with your resources, you're irresponsible, what good is the money? Your money, your reputation, your work ethic, your protection, all of those are resources to help advance your family circumstance. If you have all of the money, but you have a bad reputation, that's a detriment to your family. If you have all of the money, but you're irresponsible, you're untrustworthy, then what good is the money? A man has to have provision. How are you going to provide for your vision? Money, reputation, resources, protection, guidance, advice, wisdom. Your goal is to be a steward of your resources. Some of those resources can be turned into money, and money can be converted into some of those resources. But how you manage it is based on your purpose. A man is a steward of resources. You cannot be wasteful, you can't be irresponsible. When I send my children somewhere and I tell them, hey, go over here and tell them that your daddy sent you over there. And they go over there and they say, hey, my daddy told me to come see you. And that person takes care of them. My children are benefiting from my reputation. They're benefiting from my word. They're benefiting from my relationships. That is a resource. Even if I don't spend the money, they're benefiting from something that I did. That's a resource. A man has to have provision. How are you going to make a way for your purpose? You have to be a steward of resources. And finally, not only does a man need to have a vision, not only does he need to have provision, a man has to have improvision. You have to be able to improvise. You have to be able to react. You got to be able to make decisions at a moment's notice. Life is not predictable. Nothing ever goes your way. Every day you wake up having to fix problems. But a man has to be able to improvise. A man has to be able to take on life's challenges and deal with it, figure it out. Your family looks at you as the man, as the first person to learn from on how to deal with conflict. And if you as a man have a difficulty navigating the hardships of life, navigating the problems in life, dealing with the stresses that come with being a man, your family is going to inherit those insecurities. Your children is going to inherit those insecurities. If you can't control your emotions, if you break at the first sign of difficulty, if you get angry and flustered and cannot control yourself at the first sign of conflict, your children will inherit those insecurities. They will inherit those shortcomings. It is up to you as a man to provide calm and resolve. It is up to you as a man to dictate how you are going to deal with conflict, how you're going to deal with struggle, how you're going to deal with failure. A man has to be able to improvise. And if you have those things, a vision, provision, and improvision, now you have what you need to get to where you want to go. Wealth mindset.